if I'm gonna die or ever be a sacrifice, I want to make sure that my life made at least 5 million kids happy, or they found some sort of answers or resolve in my life.
XXXTentacion's half-brother Corey Pack finally broke his silence, and it happened in the rawest way possible. After years of keeping quiet, not doing interviews, not stepping into any drama, Corey spoke out right after he got locked out of X's mausoleum on the anniversary of his passing. But this wasn't just some mix-up with a key. Nah, this was deep. Someone was trying to cut him off from the legacy itself. For years, Corey stayed in the shadows, never clout chased, never used his brother's name for attention. But all that shifted during an emotional April a few years back. On the anniversary of X's passing, Corey pulled out his phone and posted a video to Instagram that hit fans like a gut punch. It was raw, it was real, and it marked the first time he truly opened up. He said visiting X's mausoleum was something he did whenever life got too heavy. It was his safe place. But that day, the key didn't work, locked out. And that moment, it shattered something in him. In a long, emotional post, Corey confessed he had been holding in the pain for years. He debated posting that video for nearly a year because he doesn't usually air his pain online, but bottling it up, that was breaking him even more. It just gets me f***ed up and enraged when they love to use my brother's name, but stop his little brother from going inside his mausoleum, he wrote. He never named anyone, but fans instantly knew who he was talking about. That line hit different. It exposed the tension, the quiet beef, the shady loyalty people were performing in public while cutting out family behind closed doors. They kept saying they were doing everything in X's honor, but meanwhile, they were cutting Corey out like he didn't even exist. Corey didn't just lose a sibling, he lost his best friend. This was someone he grew up with, talked to every single day, and was practically never apart from. That bond, unbreakable, until people started playing gatekeeper with X's legacy. Corey had been pulling up to that mausoleum almost every day for 2 years. That wasn't just a grave to him, it was a sacred space, a place of peace. So imagine the disrespect, pulling up on the anniversary of X's passing and realizing he's been locked out. That right there. Corey called it one of the lowest blows he'd ever felt. But even through all that pain, he tried to flip the moment into something meaningful. Toward the end of his message, Corey encouraged others to speak their truth, even if it meant standing alone. That's when he dropped a line that had folks pausing. Never silence your truth. You know you're doing something right when they go to extremes to see you suffer. That hit hard. Corey was carrying years of emotional weight, and a big part of that came from how everything ended for his brother. X didn't get taken out over nothing. It was money, jealousy, and fake love that led to that day. Now, Corey didn't name drop anybody directly, but let's be real. He was throwing precision shade. Everyone knew who he meant. Most assumed it was aimed at X's mom, Cleopatra, especially since Corey and his own mother had filed a lawsuit against her over the estate drama. Corey wasn't just venting. He was defending his bond with X and trust. The timing couldn't have been more explosive. This was the moment everything shifted. For a lot of fans, it was the first time they even realized X had a half-brother, let alone one who felt iced out and completely disrespected. That hit different. Suddenly, Corey wasn't just some name in the background. He became front-page drama. Meanwhile, Cleopatra's camp wasted no time firing back. They claimed Corey wasn't legally entitled to anything, but that didn't calm the storm. It ignited it. Corey's post cracked open a door that had been bolted shut, and what spilled out? Straight up legal fireworks. Instead of tribute posts or family unity, Corey's name started popping up in headlines for all the wrong reasons. Lawsuits and estate battles. After X passed, his estate was valued at over $50 million. According to the arrangement, half was going to Cleopatra. The other half, that was supposed to be split between Corey and their other half-brother, Aiden. Corey's 25% share was being managed by his own mom, Jody, but behind the scenes, everything was falling apart. Fast forward to June 2020, and boom, Jody hits Cleopatra with a lawsuit. She accused her of secretly moving millions that didn't belong to her. We're talking shady transfers, hidden moves, and major trust violations. According to the lawsuit, Cleopatra had taken over $11 million out of the trust and slid it straight into her personal accounts. That's not just questionable, that's messy. And it shook fans who had only seen the public, polished version of the family, the money Jody was fighting for. That was supposed to be Corey's. She claimed Cleopatra had been secretly moving X's money around, quietly cutting Corey's side out of the picture like they didn't matter. But wait, it gets even messier. Jody didn't stop at hidden transfers. She dropped another bombshell. Cleopatra had allegedly struck a secret deal with Genesis, X's ex-girlfriend and the mother of his son, Gekumi. And this deal allegedly wiped Corey out of the estate completely. Originally, Jody's legal team sent Cleopatra a demand letter asking for $11 million. But when Cleopatra ignored it like it was junk mail, they went straight to court. And if they could prove Cleopatra was doing all this on purpose, that $11 million could have ballooned to $34 million in damages. But the lawsuit wasn't just about cash. Jody made it clear Corey wasn't only entitled to money. He deserved a piece of the empire. She argued that Corey should also have a stake in X's brand, Bad Vibes Entities. That's the music label, the business, the name, the legacy, all of it. Jody said this wasn't just inheritance, it was ownership. Now Cleopatra, she didn't sit back and let this slide. Her legal team clapped back hard. They called the lawsuit baseless and claimed Corey had zero legal standing. Why? Because according to the court, Gekumi was named the sole heir of X's estate. No room for Corey in the paperwork. They even went further, saying Cleopatra had been nothing but generous to Corey and Jody. They said she paid their bills, bought them a house, gave them a car, and even handled their property taxes. From their perspective, Cleopatra didn't owe them a dime. She'd already gone above and beyond. But here's the twist. This whole battle exploded into the public 2 years after X passed. And when the fans saw this behind-the-scenes war over his legacy, it shook the internet. Most fans didn't even know Corey existed. So when the lawsuit dropped, it wasn't just about money. It exposed a full-blown family rift that had been hidden behind silence for years. Suddenly, a private battle turned into public drama, and the reactions were split. Some folks stood with Corey, saying he was getting played and robbed of what he was owed. Others, they called it a cash grab and accused him of chasing clout. But no matter where you stood, one thing was clear. This lawsuit ripped the curtain wide open on some serious tension inside X's family. Since Corey hadn't really been in the spotlight before, people started asking real questions. Was he kept a secret on purpose? If he and X were that close, why wasn't he ever shown publicly? Was the distance planned or just personal choice? Some fans think there had always been beef between Corey's side and Cleopatra, Bernard, maybe even before X blew up. Others believe Corey just wanted to live low-key and not get wrapped up in the fame. Whatever the case, everything changed once that money came into the picture. Suddenly, the calm was gone. The lawsuits, the social media shade, the accusations, it all spilled out, messy and loud. And Corey, he didn't come off like someone chasing fame. He painted a picture of a brother who was grieving in silence, who loved X deeply, but now feels completely shut out of everything his brother built. To understand why Corey's grief turned into a war for truth, you gotta rewind to the moment it all really began. Before the lawsuits, before the court drama, before the social media chaos, there was just a brother mourning. And this wasn't just pain from losing someone, it was about how it happened. The trauma, unmatched. June 18th, 2018, a day that shattered everything. X had just pulled out $50,000 in cash from the bank. He wasn't flexing, he was planning to buy a motorcycle. Simple plans. He and a friend rolled up to Riva Motorsports in Deerfield Beach, Florida around 3:30 p.m. What they didn't know, they were being watched. And here's where things start getting real suspicious. Two men, later identified as Dedrick Williams and Robert Allen, followed them inside the shop, just watching. No drama yet, but minutes later they stepped back out, moved their rented black SUV to block the exit, and waited. Then it happened. As X tried to pull away in his BMW i8, the SUV suddenly boxed him in. That's when two other men, Michael Boatwright and Trayvon Newsom, jumped out with masks on and guns drawn. They ran straight to X's window, demanded everything, and it all went down fast. There was a struggle, tension. Then Boatwright pulled the trigger, 3 shots. They snatched a Louis Vuitton bag stuffed with cash, jumped back in the SUV, and sped off like nothing happened. X's friend, completely unharmed, didn't lift a finger. The entire scene, from the moment X stepped into the store to the moment everything ended, took less than 30 minutes. That's all it took to change lives forever. And the suspects? Authorities wasted no time. Once surveillance footage and witness statements dropped, they started connecting dots. fast. What looked like a robbery turned out to be something way colder, more calculated. And that's what haunted Corey the most. Surveillance cameras were rolling the whole time, inside and outside the shop. The crew didn't even try to move slick. But what really sealed their fate? Straight up dumb decisions on social media. One of the suspects, Dedrick Williams, actually posted a picture wearing the same bright orange sandals he had on during the crime. No disguise, no shame, just pure recklessness. And get this, hours after the murder, the crew was out here on their phones flashing stacks of cash like they just hit a jackpot, flexing the same money they snatched off X. Unbelievable. Eventually, Robert Allen cracked. He flipped on the whole crew, turned state's witness, and spilled everything in court. According to Allen, they weren't even targeting X specifically at first. He said they rolled out that day with one mission, to rob anybody they could. But the moment they saw X, they locked in. No hesitation. It was go time.
You who picked the target in this case. You went inside Riva Motorsports, confirmed the identification.
By early 2023, the justice system caught up with all of them. Boatwright, Newsom, and Williams were handed life sentences without parole. No second chances. And Boatwright, he got slammed with 2 life sentences plus 30 extra years. As for Allen, the one who flipped, he cut a deal. 7 years and probation. And yes, he walked free by October 2023. But here's where it gets even more twisted. You know, a lot of fans never bought the whole random robbery story. Too many details didn't sit right. Like, how did they know X had $50,000 in cash that exact day? How'd they manage to trail him right into that specific motorcycle shop at the exact moment? That doesn't sound random. Then there's the kicker. X's step-uncle, who was with him the entire time, walked away completely untouched. Not a scratch. That fact, it lit up the internet with conspiracy theories. Some folks think this wasn't just a hit for money. It might have been an inside job. Then came the social media swirl. Rumors were flying like wildfire, and folks online started dragging in names that had nothing to do with the crime. Remember Soldier Kid and Soldier Jojo? They got caught up in the storm just because they had posted pics with red masks and were spotted in the area. That was enough for internet detectives to start pointing fingers. But guess what? They were cleared completely. No connection, no link, just wrong place, wrong time, and bad timing on Instagram. And as always, there's a deep end in every rabbit hole. Some fans went all the way off the rails, claiming that X faked his own death. Yeah, for real. They started analyzing camera angles, talking about missing tattoos, and questioning why there wasn't more blood. It got wild, but none of it held up. Not a shred of real evidence. Law enforcement shut that down real fast. At the end of the day, officials stuck to one conclusion. This was a targeted robbery, not some movie-style assassination plot. But that didn't stop people from speculating. Some say it all came down to envy, straight jealousy. Others believe there's more to the story that still hasn't come out. But if you go strictly off court records and police files, the story's clear. It was about money, nothing more, nothing less. Prosecutors laid it out in plain language. These 4 men didn't know X personally. They didn't have a vendetta. They saw him flashing stacks, followed him to the motorcycle shop, and set up the ambush. Cold, calculated, quick. That's what the law says. According to the official version of events, this wasn't about jealousy or beef, just a robbery, plain and simple. No personal ties, no revenge. But out on the streets and all over the internet, people weren't buying it that easy. Let's be real. All 4 suspects came from rough situations. They had records, no stability, and definitely weren't living the life that X was living. Meanwhile, X had made it. He had the cars, the luxury clothes, the fans, the money. So after the hit, when those same 4 dudes were out here filming themselves throwing wads of cash in the air like it was a music video, yeah, it gave greed vibes for sure, but also maybe something deeper. At first glance, it looked like a straight-up robbery, but on platforms like Reddit and TikTok, fans started digging and connecting dots. They kept asking the same question. How did they know X was carrying $50,000 in cash that day? It wasn't like he made that kind of move every afternoon. That's when the theory mill started spinning. Some said it felt too precise, like somebody had tipped them off. X had always been vocal about feeling watched. In old interviews and live stream clips, he talked about not feeling safe. He never named names, never pointed fingers, but the paranoia, it was real. Fans started pulling up those clips, saying he saw it coming, that he knew danger was close.
If I'm gonna die or ever be a sacrifice, I wanna make sure that my life made at least 5 million kids happy. Or they found some sort of answers or resolve in my life.
Of course, the theories didn't stop there. Clickbait blogs jumped in with wild headlines accusing a jealous ex or throwing around claims of betrayal by someone close, but none of those had real proof. No names, no receipts. Even during the trial, the defense tried to stir the pot, hinting at deeper motives, planting doubt. But the court stuck to the basics: planned robbery, no confirmed personal beef. The courtroom even tried to bring up X's past beef with other artists, including that headline-making tension with Drake. But the judge wasn't having any of it, shut it down immediately, said it had zero to do with the case. That part of the narrative was tossed before it even had a chance to breathe. And when it came to the people who truly knew X, his inner circle, they stayed silent on the jealousy angle too. His mom, Cleopatra, never blamed envy or past drama. She focused entirely on justice and preserving her son's legacy. No side chatter, no distractions. Ski Mask, the slump god, who was like a brother to X, did speak out. He poured out his heart over the violence and the loss. But again, no mention of jealousy. And even X's lawyer, he confirmed the robbery looked like a random hit. Though, to be fair, he said investigators looked into everything in those early days. But let's switch gears, because there's a whole side of this story that got buried in the noise. As time passed, fans started rewatching X's old clips, going back through his lives, his posts, trying to piece together the signs, and suddenly, some of those videos started hitting way different. X used to talk about death a lot. One live in particular still gives people chills. In it, he spoke about how important it was not to let depression take over, and how you have to keep chasing your dreams, no matter what the world throws at you. After his passing, a wave of viral screenshots started floating around. People claimed X had predicted how he'd go out, or even planned to fake it. Some of those screenshots were straight up fake, others were taken out of context, but it was enough to stir the internet into a frenzy. But let's clear it up. Those viral predictions floating around after X's passing, fake. There was never a legit post where he said he planned to fake his death or predicted exactly how things would end. Folks were just throwing wild claims into the chaos, and the internet did what it always does, ran with it, fast. But what was real? The way X spoke about loyalty and betrayal. If you actually listen to his old interviews, freestyles, even the casual lives, he was always hinting that he didn't trust the people around him. Never called out names, never spilled it all, but he made one thing clear: he moved cautious. And you can't ignore the bigger picture. X's life was moving fast. One minute he's showing up in court, the next he's sitting on top of the charts, locking in $1 million deals, and walking around with 50 racks in cash. That kind of fame, it attracts all kinds. New people pop up, old ones flip. That spotlight's bright, but it casts long shadows. He started distancing himself from some folks, and fans noticed. They started wondering, did he sense something coming? Was there something off behind the scenes? Then there's the actual robbery. The way it all played out had people side-eyeing everything. The crew just so happened to spot him right when he pulled that kind of cash. They just happened to follow him to that exact store, block him in, dip in seconds. The whole thing felt too clean, too precise. That's why places like Reddit and hip-hop forums started lighting up with inside job theories. People swore someone tipped them off. But just like before, no receipts, no hard proof, just whispers and speculation. And the betrayal, it didn't stop when he passed. The family tension exploded. His estate got messy quick. Suddenly, his mom and his half-brother were in court battles over money. People were getting cut out of the will. It was a wild contrast. Love pouring in from the public, while pure chaos unfolded behind closed doors. Fans were crying out, blasting his tracks, calling him a legend. But backstage, it was lawsuits, family feuds, and whispers of betrayal from the people who were supposed to protect his legacy. And when you really piece it all together, X talking about death, feeling like he couldn't trust anyone, pulling away from folks, moving different, it starts to feel way deeper than just a robbery gone wrong. Something was brewing under the surface, and the signs were there. Was this really about cash, or was it a setup that had been brewing long before that June day? Because let's be honest, X wasn't acting the same in those final weeks. Everything about his energy felt off, like he knew something was closing in. We've seen this same cycle play out way too many times in hip-hop. Young talent, fast fame, too many snakes, too many watchers, and then, boom, another tragedy. But with X, it hit different. The way he talked about legacy, purpose, leaving behind something that mattered, it was like he was racing a clock only he could hear. And that's the chilling part. Because the real question was never just who did it. It's why him, why then, why like that. It always goes down like this, but it still never makes sense when it happens. So now we want to hear from you. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Was this deeper than it looked, or was it just one more young life cut short in a cold world? Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and check out what's really popping in our hood next.